and hopefully we can do as much as we can through our humanitarian aid and through our development assistance to help those families that have been suffering there. I feel a little bit empty, I have to say, because 1 week ago there were the parliamentary elections in Finland, and as all politicians were campaigning hard, and you feel that you are almost falling down in the election evening, because it's you have used all your energy and all your thoughts and all your imagination to convince the voters, first of all, to be active and to vote, and then Sunday evening you see the results and you start to think what's happening to this country and what is the future and so on, what kind of government we will have. And as many of you know, we had a very controversial results in the elections. Of course, the population is never wrong, as we know in the democracy, but we have quite a challenging times ahead of us. The second biggest party, True Finns or the Finns, very often been running on anti-European topics, anti-immigration topics, and anti-global solidarity topics. And for us, I think, who are participating to the social forum, we are quite contrary, and these are, I would say, anti-environmental topics as well. So we are quite opposing mood here and looking world from a very different angle. And for our country, of course, I think we are concerned what is the level of tolerance in the future, what are our values, also how do we practice the European solidarity in these days, particularly when we look what's going on in the Mediterranean and all those victims coming, or young people coming from the African continent towards the Europe, trying to fulfill their dreams, what's happening to them currently. And also the whole global situation, of course, full of different concerns nowadays. When I'm thinking particularly the environmental issue, it's not only about the global environment and global concerns, the climate issues or the biodiversity issues and others, but it's also very much, I think, here in Finland, what kind of environmental administration we will have in the future. There are some people who are dreaming that we could close the environmental ministry in this country, or regroup it with the Ministry of Agriculture and so on. We have people who are advocating policy towards the nuclear power in Finland, as you know, and we are challenges actually to developing our clean tech sector, which I think would be a big factor in the Finnish economy in the future, but we are quite slow in that. I have to say that I had an interesting moment in last summer visiting as Minister for Development Aid China in August, and we were in Shanghai, and I was with the Finnish business delegation telling how good environmental technology we have in Finland. And I, of course, said a very nice word, clean tech, that we would like to work on the clean tech issues with China, and the immediate reaction by the politicians and business community and the university people in China was that, you said clean tech, how much you want to have in Finland? We have it everything. We have solar panels, we have windmills, we have bioenergy here in China. We are already decided to reduce our climate emissions. It will take 100 years, but we have started now, and we are ready to sell our products also to Finland. Of course, as a Finn who always thinks that we are ahead on the environmental issues and we are doing a lot of progress, I got a little bit scared, I have to say, that there was a very active marketing. All the professors have been in Freiburg, and all of them have been following the German energy event there and so on. And I think we should actually understand that the issues that we have been maybe many years advocating regarding the climate, regarding the environment, the issues are already there around, also in the developing world and rapidly developing countries like China and other Asian economies. The other thought I was thinking when arriving here was the issue which is very much related to European situation and which, of course, concerns us a lot, and which was a lot discussed topic during the election time, of course, is where Russia is going and what's happening in Ukraine, what's happening in eastern Ukraine, what's happening in Crimea. And I was very much when the Soviet Union collapsed and when during the Gorbachev and Yeltsin times, we started a lot of cooperation with rapidly growing environmental and social movements in Russia. We organized in St. Petersburg huge environmental forums, 1992, if I remember correctly, where more than 600 environmental activists from all parts of Russia came there, and it was really this kind of, you felt the power, people who had been in isolation and repression by the government finally, could express their feelings about the environmental issues and all that. And then everybody who has been following the fate of the Russian social movements and environmental movements, I think share the concern that nowadays the very few ones are left, and these few ones are very professional, they are very tough people, and they are really knowing what they are doing in the country, but the social movements are in these days quite weak compared with the power and of course compared with the media and so on and so on. But one thing that particularly concerns me is the issue of, I would say, two narratives. When you discuss with your Russian friends, they probably are not there pro-government at all, but they think actually that the Western and Russian narratives have been going in different parts for quite a long time, starting from Kosovo and then Libya and then Syria and so on, and what for us looks of advancing democratic values and advancing the human rights and advancing the freedom of speech, for them looks sometimes creating a chaos, making a disturbance, intervening to internal affairs of the countries and so on. And it's these two narratives I think we really have to get together sooner or later if we want to solve the global issues and global problems. And I think maybe 2 years ago when I was in Moscow discussing with the Minister for Foreign Affairs, they basically asked, don't you know what you are doing in Syria? You are making a situation where you are making a lot of space to the Islamists by supporting the Free Syrian Army, which is very weak and very marginal. And if you don't concentrate on the main problem, which is the rise of the Islamists, you will have a country that this will be at the hand of the radical Islamists. And this was the Moscow view a couple of years ago. And of course, if you look now where you are, you might think that, okay, maybe they saw something that we didn't see so clearly, for example, in that part of the world. And I think this type of dialogue should be much more stronger if we want to really solve the issues that we are currently facing. And of course, the Islamic radicalization comes very close to us here in Finland. We have a quite lively Somali community, 15,000 Somalis here. Around 60 of them are now fighting in the ranks of the ISIS in Syria and in Iraq. And if you look at the percentage, it's quite a big one. And of course, we have been always thinking our Somali community is quite moderate and not very radical and so on. And when you are talking to the imams in the mosques, even they are surprised. What's happening with our young people? Why these young people left actually second generation immigrants? Why they live in Finland and suddenly they are fighting for the great caliphate in Syria and Iraq? And they are as concerned as we are about this radicalization phenomenon. I think there's again quite a big common tasks, not only for us here in Finland with our immigrants and our foreign community, but Europe-wide and globally to go to the deep roots of the radicalization and try to influence to people who are maybe currently attracted by the radical thoughts fighting in Syria, Iraq or other places. I have been trying to work a long time for mediation, peace and mediation topics, and of course we are always been proud in Finland that we have deep roots in that. We have the President Ahtisaari's long road from Namibia independence process and so on, and I still think that we could offer a little bit more on the mediation and peace side, what we are doing today, and I feel that it's becoming more and more difficult in the world where everybody is just speaking about the military expenditure and actually what kind of arms we should buy because our neighbors are buying that type of arms, or more and more military threats are around us. And I think that you have to keep your head very clear in these times if you want to advocate the mediation, peace path and the non-violence solution of the problems in the world, which finally I think is the only way, of course, to go ahead. And that leads actually me to my last comment and the role of the social forum. I was very happy actually when during the campaign time I just popped up in Laajasalo, and there is a cooperative shop, and on the back room of the cooperative shop in the Laajasalo shopping center there was sitting a group of people, and I asked, what are you doing? And they said, we are preparing for the social forum. And they thought actually they were on this TTIP planning group, and got a very happy feeling actually what the social forum as its best can mean also for us Finns and for different people who want to participate from the different angles and bring their debate to the social forum in the way that has happened during these days now here in Artis. And of course people are speaking about the challenge that how to organize this year after year with so to say on a temporary basis or on a basis that the new organization always is catching the responsibility, and they also were discussing about the challenge that should there be a more permanent organization in support of the social forum and so on. I'm guessing that this half round of the wise men and women here will try to solve that problem just after I'm finishing my speech. But I think social forum definitely is needed, and it brings to the Finnish debate something that would be missing if this gathering is not taking place. And of course, if you look from the global perspective, and here are also people, of course, who will be participating more to the global social forum events. I think this is a quite unique gathering of getting people together and getting ideas together, and let us hope that some of these issues which I mentioned, to getting together the narratives from the East and West, or finding solutions for the radicalization, would be the topics to address, not only in Finland in the social forum, but more globally, and finding good and sustainable solutions for these problems. So with these thoughts, not very ready-made thoughts, I want to just greet you all and thank those who have been organizing the forum here in Finland, and I'm sure that if I had a couple of questions, the solutions will come soon. Thank you.
Pekka, John. So I'm Teivo Teivainen, and I was asked to facilitate this final session here with some of the participants, many who've come from abroad. He's also from Finland, and the idea is to discuss briefly. Also, we need to finish not so late, because a couple of people need to take a taxi actually at 4:20. Let's see whether we'll finish by then, or the situation is at that time. And the idea is to discuss a little bit what have you learned, what do you take home from this social forum, both for Finnish and international participants, and how do you feel about Finnish social movements, non-governmental organizations, this thing that is called civil societies? There's something you felt that is particularly striking in terms of your experience outside of Finland or inside of Finland about the way things seem to happen in Finnish social struggles, social movements, non-governmental organizations during the days that you have been here. But maybe if I can invite you here, Nicanor Pelas from the Philippines, please. Reza Chaudhuri from Bangladesh. Liisa Uimonen from Finland, from the Siemenpuu Foundation, Rodrigo Nunes from Brazil, and Suleiman is, yes, and Suleiman, did I get Autonatu? Am I pronouncing it correctly? More or less, more or less. So, okay. Yes. Okay. All right, that should be fine. Yeah. So it's the social forum of Finland is soon over, and it would be great to hear what you take home, especially you leaving first. I think Rodrigo and Reza are the ones who have the taxi waiting quite soon. So why don't we start with you people, with Reza first. It seems that what have you learned here, and what would you like to tell the Finnish social movements, social organizations about future struggles? How do you see from the Bangladeshi perspective what we are doing here? Are we doing it? Are we just wasting our time hanging out in social forums like this?
No, not at all. This is not the wasting of time. I think it is the most valuable time for me, at least. And what I enjoy, the social forum, that we network with each other. We share our experiences with each other. But there is no common position because we do not want to argue with each other. But there is one entity that is civil society. You know that several years ago, the New York Times has declared, has announced who were the men of the year. They declared that this is the emergence of civil society. Around more than 50 years ago, around 100 years ago, you know that Antonio Gramsci, the left-leaning intellectuals in Italy, while he was in jail, he wrote a book, Prisoner's Notebook. Maybe some of you has read it. And he was a Marxist sociologist, and he was a part of the Italian Communist Party. Usually, we consider the Marxist people, they don't think beyond of the Communist Party. That was our pre-assumption. But he wrote in his book that he has indicated that there will be emergence of civil society. Why? Because, especially in the developing countries, our political institution a bit weak. They hardly represent citizen concerns, people concerns. The political parties become an oligarchy, part of the establishment. Sorry, it is my own understanding. You might have the difference of opinion. So there is emergence of individual citizens with individual opinions. And it is the social forum who has organized these civil societies around the world. Although in the beginning the philosophy, it is to create an alternative forum out of Davos. You know what happens in Davos? The multinational corporation, big rich people, annually gather there and they share their plan how to rule the world, how to make the profit. We are not against the multinational. Maybe we are not against the profit, But for us, human dignity, human being is fundamental. Planet is fundamental. Today, I have been participating in two important sessions. One is organization for organization less, and another one is session with my friend from Philippines. What I feel a conclusion, civil society does not need to be a single forum in Philippines, does not need a single forum in global level. But we need minimum coordination. That social forum has given such a platform. We share, we inform each other, and we share each other, we inform each other, we will not make any quarrel with each other, and we want to build up a society, build up a planet for each and every individual's human being from south to north. And it is the reason I have had started with one slogan. The making of alternative planet is possible. Let us globalize the world. Let us globalize the struggle. Let us globalize the solidarity. Thank you very much.
All right, wonderful lesson. Maybe I'll suggest everybody absolutely has to finish her or his talk with nice set of slogans. Is that good? Do we agree? Yes, there were many things I think that might connect with what Rodrigo from Brazil has been thinking about and talking about this organization of the organizationless. What Teresa was saying about the method of the forum, that there are no general conclusions normally. Sometimes people think, oh, it's those hippies or lefties who can't get their act together because there's no general paper that says we've come to these conclusions. This is part of the social forum method, that we don't come, so that there wouldn't be this fight over what we would conclude. Some people do get frustrated with that and think actually that there should be a little bit more fighting over what conclusions we reach, and that's one of the issues here with social forum movements in different parts of the world. But yes, Rodrigo, I think it's your turn.
I like this minimal coordination thing. If you don't mind, I'll sit down. Well, obviously, I wasn't in the best position to learn that much here because sadly I don't speak Finnish yet, and a lot of the discussions were taking place in Finnish, and I didn't want to be a dead weight on you and ask you to stop and translate what you were talking about to me. I do hope, first and foremost, that this has been useful for you. I do hope, first and foremost, that those of you who are active, who are Finnish or who live in Finland, who are active in social movements here in Finland, have come out of this with a renewed sense of commonality, with a stronger idea that, or a stronger sense that you have a vision in common, and with some ideas of where to go next and what you can do with each other over the next years. Because obviously I'm not saying anything original if I say these aren't particularly good times for anyone, anywhere. And this is precisely why we need a commonality of vision. This is precisely why we need to think of shared strategies and to think about what we can do from where we are to change the horrible, or to stop and then change this horrible tide of horribleness that we've seen in the last few years, particularly since the 2008 crisis, when we thought that things were that the tide was going to change, and then it didn't, and things have only seemed to get worse. And in the coming months, there are several big battles to be waged here in Europe and in Finland and from Finland about Greece, about migration and the growing scandal that the Mediterranean becoming the biggest mass grave in the world is at the moment, and so on and so forth. And I hope this couple of days has been useful for you, and that you now have a better sense of what happens next, what you're doing over the next months. And I wish you the best of lucks. And you can count on my support. I know it's not going to change things massively, just my support personally, but you can count on the solidarity and the hope of people elsewhere. If you just tell us what you're doing in English, please, because most of us don't understand Finnish, sadly, yet. So I have to end with a slogan. Si se puede. Yes, we can.
So, next I'd like to ask Liisa Puimonen to give her perspective she's from the Siemenpuu organization here in Finland. And how did this forum seem to you? What did we learn?
Well, actually, I'm looking at the forum as an individual citizen with my concerns as a Finnish woman. But for me, I think one of the questions actually that we've been thinking as well in here, we had this session about the World Social Forum this morning, and we discussed a little bit about this tension or a pit between the organized organizations and then again the not organized civil society actors, and how can these act together? How can we overcome those tensions to really form a social movement or create social change? And I think, for me, I think the Finnish Social Forum is a place where these roles of being a representative of a certain organization or anything like that, they can be kind of dismantled, and everyone can be just, like I said, I am here, a concerned citizen, and networking and discussing and all that. And I think that is something very important that should be still in the future of the Finnish Social Forum. It should be nourished and so forth. And I think I'm not an expert in this process, but I think that the one important thing that we should improve ourselves when we are organizing the social forum and coming here, the forming of of some social movements as well, because many times it goes into seminars and kind of loose discussions. But then, how could we use these spaces in order to, organize ourselves better, to create and change and influence? I don't know. I think that's what I would like to say about this.
Wonderful, thank you. That is certainly one of the biggest challenges for the social forums, like how to create change, how to create social movement for things to move forward without necessarily then going back to becoming the old strategies, or it's only through elections and conquering the state and political parties, and that is one of the biggest things that we have been debating here quite a lot. But for that we need different kinds of methods, different kinds of pedagogical tools, and Nicanor, you've been now here participating, talking, observing the Finnish Social Forum, and what's your feeling? What do we need to go forward as a social forum that moves forward, whether it's a movement or just a space?
It's one of the more complicated questions. That is, in a sense, has already exercised the different social forums, including the Mother Forum in Brazil. I think, first of all, before I respond to that question, I just want to say that they can stand up. I feel a little warmer. It's getting cold. What I want to say is that I really was really very happy to see the degree of engagement of the different people here in Finland with all sorts of various issues. And despite the cold weather today, the lack of sun, the inner sun, basically, with the engagement of these issues also surfaced in the various workshops that I was a part of. And I just want to thank that. So I think your question is key, and also what Rodrigo was mentioning, and also how do we really come together? Because the picture of civil society, social movements here in Finland is very similar around the world, in the sense that almost every critical issue there's a movement, there are groups addressing those issues, but the key question remains is how do we really come together to create impact and fundamental changes in the way society is structured? I think this is a kind of fundamental question, and there are various approaches to it. And my take on it is that we need a greater understanding of what the nature of civil society is, what kind of power it has. Therefore, it will affect what kind of tactics and strategies we actually develop. And I wrote a book on what the nature of civil society is, and I was trying to highlight that it actually wields cultural power. And so that it's a kind of different kind of understanding. We all know how to wield political power, or usually in the receiving end, and how do we wield economic power. But what is really cultural power, and why is it more powerful than political and economic power when it really gets clear and organized? Because fundamentally, cultural power is about the power to create different kinds of understanding of different identities and different pictures of the world, and so on. And how do you create strategies to shift the state, whether in opposition or in strategic partnership, or also the economy in different ways. One of the things in this context is that the state is not a monolith, nor is the business a monolith. There are individuals in this that actually deeply share the values of civil society that are being articulated here. And for example, I was listening to Becca, you're a member of parliament, and I said, wow, I mean, he sounds more like from civil society than from the normal government that if he were in the Philippines, I said, wow, he was a kind of civil society activist instead of a minister of government. And so, I mean, the fact that there are people like that in strategic positions, there's a real possibility for a real dialogue to take place, to leverage together political power, cultural power, economic power, to really shift certain things in the world. And I think part of that possibility is to understand what the social forum space is really about, which, by the way, doesn't prevent it from being engaged politically. And part of the conversation in our group was the flexibility to understand what center and periphery is in its dynamic connection to specific issues. For example, at one specific issue, let's say 350.org, in the issue of climate change has become the center, whereas before, it didn't even exist, and the key people behind it were periphery in the anti-globalization movement, but they were supportive. So that's another kind of solidarity in the cultural sphere, because cultural power is about who has those kinds of ideas, who have those strategic vision that would make it easier for all of the different social movements to converge there. And at another issue, it may be another center. It's a different organizational principle that's state control. And then finally, it's important to maintain an independent civil society movement outside the state. Because in those movements around the world that have collapsed the movement to a party, like in Germany, then what happens there is that you lose the leverage inside the political space and you get compromised. And this happened to the German Green Party, and they were at the height of power during Schroeder's time. And then I spoke to some key members there. They were saying, we've never felt so powerless because they've started compromising some of their key ideals just to stay in the coalition. There was no external force that they could rely to leverage the Green position beside government, because they had collapsed the environmental movement in the Green Party. So these are some questions that are there. How do we really... The key idea is how do we come together to leverage the kind of power that we can have vis-a-vis the way to shape the future of the world. And I think the social forum, especially in Brazil, I think has dealt with this issue for a long time, and I think it's a very interesting dynamic. And I think there are really times when we have to really organize in a different way to be strong politically, but I think maybe not to collapse it into a party. Oh, slogan?
So Suleiman, and your reflections on the social forum process that you've experienced here. We will have an interpretation into Finnish, I think. So I don't know, I can try to whisper here, or do you... Because she will be... There will be Turkish, Finnish, and then simultaneous English. I hope I can do that. Or
Merhaba. Burada sizlere ciddi problemlerden bahsettim. Suriye oturumunda. Suriye'ye giden 2000 tır dolusu silahtan, uçaklarla giden silahlardan, yaklaşık 100.000'e yakın paralı askerden, ki bunlar radikal İslamcılar. Ve bütün bunların üzerine bir savaş ekonomisi kuran ve ülkemi bir baskı rejimiyle yöneten AKP'den bahsettim.
Kaikille terve. Me olen kertonut Syyriasta, Irakista ja fundamentalista ja jihadijärjestöistä samalla, että me olen kertonut, että mikä on tapahtunut siellä. Esimerkiksi on viety siellä ihan aseita ja muita aineita. Ja sen jälkeen minun maani on myös on sodan rinnalla.
Biz Türkiye'de yaşayan, barış ve demokrasi isteyen, adalet isteyen, bağımsızlık isteyen insanlar olarak yaklaşık 2 yıl önce bu gerçeklerin farkında olarak büyük bir hareket başlattık. Bunu duymuşsunuzdur. Büyük bir ayaklanma yaşandı Haziran 2013'te. Gezi ayaklanması ve bütün dünyaya AKP'nin bu savaş ekonomisi üzerine kurulu yapısını gösterdik.
Ja 2 vuotta sitten me olemme arvioinut tilannetta ja silloin, että Turkissa on tullut esille Gezi-puiston kansannousuja ja ihmiset ovat hyvin tietoisia siitä, että mikä AKP, että se puolue on viemässä minun maani.
Bu hareket yer yer sessizliğe gömülse de halen devam ediyor. Mesela dün bir sınır şehri olan Antakya'da ABD ile Türkiye'nin imzaladığı eğitim donat anlaşması ki yeni cihatçıların eğitilerek Suriye'ye gönderilmesini içeriyor. Buna karşı bir yürüyüş oldu.
Viime aikoina on tehty Yhdysvallojen ja Turkin välistä sopimusta, että he organisoivat, tukevat ja jihadisteja Turkissa. Sen takia on ollut Turkissa myös mielenosoituksia ja kansannousuja.
Voitko sanoa, jos hän voi reflektoida sitä, että mikä fiilis tästä sosiaalifoorumista jäi ja eikä niinkään perinpohjalta selittää mitään Turkissa tapahtunut. Tai päästä siihen.
Ciddi bir savaşın yaşandığı bir ülkeden geldiğim için haliyle sözlerimin büyük kısmı bunun üzerine. Diğer yandan dünyada giderek savaşların daha çok yer aldığını görüyoruz. Suriye, Irak, Ukrayna ve yeni gerilimler, savaşlar yaşanıyor. Ben bu sosyal forumların daha sonra bu tarzdan savaş, mülteciler, bu tarzdan sorunlar üzerine daha fazla eğilmesi gerektiğini düşünüyorum.
Minä kerroin sitä, koska maailmassa on muita alueilla on myös sota, Suria, Irak, Ukraina ja erilaisissa Afrikan maissakin on olemassa. Ja minun maani on myös että hyvin lähellä sotaa. Ja minä uskon siihen, että hän uskoo siihen, että tällaisia sosiaalifoorumin kaltaisia tapahtumia on hyvin tärkeitä rauhan puolesta, samalla että ongelmien ratkaisussa ja esille tuomisesta. Sen takia minä kerroin sitä, että se on hyvin tärkeä sosiaalifoorumin kaltaiset tapahtumat.
Türkiye'deki bu mücadele içinde çok yoğun, radikal bir süreç içinde belki zaman zaman kendi içimizde tartışmaya, konuşmaya, karşılıklı birbirimizin fikirlerini anlamaya zamanımız olmuyor. Belki sabrımız olmuyor. O anlamda sizin buradaki Finlandiya Sosyal Forumu'ndaki göstermiş olduğunuz karşılıklı birbirini anlama, yeni fikirlerle, yeni tecrübelerle tanışma deneyimi bana iyi bir örnek oldu.
Kuitenkin me keskustelemme ja järjestäytymme Turkissa, että erilaisia organisaatioita, mutta täällä myös, että mulla
oli hyvin tärkeää, että mä olen kuullut erilaisia näkökulmia ja sitten, että tiedon jakaminen oli hyvin tärkeää minulle ja mulla on tullut uusia näkökulmaa tästä.
Bütün bunlar için teşekkür ederim. Sloganım, gezinin sloganı, bu dava başlangıç, mücadeleye devam.
Olen kiitollinen teille kaikille ja sitten mun slogan on sitä, että tämä on vasta alku, taistelu jatkuu.
So this is just the beginning. The struggle continues, and I think perhaps even this discussion continues still at least for a few minutes. I know a couple of us have to leave very soon, but now I'd like to open the floor for interventions, comments, questions, but please be very brief because we will be finishing in a very few minutes if somebody wants to raise some issue, ask some question, because I know at least they too have to leave. I was just giving Rodrigo something that I got from there that reflects perhaps the Finnish way of relying very much on the state when trying to find solutions for things, and that the social forums somehow try to find ways to find more autonomous things that in Finland might be difficult, but it's nice that the state tradition is here also present, because if Kekkonen were alive, he would rescue the Norse. So I was giving this to Rodrigo so he can take it back to Brazilian social movements and civil society organizations so that they can apply learn about the Finnish state-centric ways of thinking about other worlds not being possible unless we focus on the state.
To be honest, first we need to learn about the Nords.
But does somebody here want to reflect with a slogan or something on this very final moment? We are coming just to the time when this was planned to end at 4:20. If there's no particular urgency here, I think we'll just finish here. Thank you for your final reflections. The slogans, as Suleiman said, the struggle continues. Thank you, and thank you for all the other slogans.